Hello everyone! So in this video we want to introduce ourselves first. So my name is Devi, Maharani, Wardani, and my student number is 123251060.
My name is Kania Kallindra and my student number is 123251057.
My name is Naicilla and my student number is 123251037.
My name is Jesslyn, Graciela, Susanto, and my student ID number is 123251061.
Okay, so in this video we will present to a material enlightenment. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it and see you.
So this event actually takes place in after the Dark Age in Europe. So here we will explain why the Enlightenment have a significant impact on how the Europe civilization advanced. So what actually is this era? Why is it called the Enlightenment? So in this era, the people in Europe start to do an intellectual movement in the 17th until the 18th century. So in this era, people are encouraged to use reason and logic to process all of the things that they do at that time, like the tradition that they do, and then the monarchical system, and then they also start to question the church itself, which back then the church is actually the base of everything that is happening in Europe. And then people in the Enlightenment era also believe that knowledge and science can improve the society more than they are right now. Before my friends start to explain in detail what is happening in the Enlightenment era, I will take you back to recap about what happened in the Dark Age. So, as I've said earlier, the church actually influenced all of the things that is happening in Europe when it's in Dark era. So, the educational, the political, the economical, and the everything, even their daily life, have to be in line with what the church say. There's also the absolute monarchical system that makes it doable because the residents are actually forced to believe that the kings back then are the divine right of the kings. So it's kinda like difficult to challenge their rule. And then there's also a limited political participation, which only limits to the elites, like the dukes, the baron, the viscount, the counts, like the ones that have title are the only ones that can vote for the next king. And then there's also the restricted freedom of thought. This actually have something to do with the church. Like everything that they think back then have to according to the church. Like if they were start to questioning the church back then, they would be either die immediately, or they would be in jail. And then there's also economical challenge because most of people worked in agriculture under feudal or semi-feudal system, and it makes poverty, famine, and heavy taxation were common among the peasants.
Okay, so after we're learning about the condition before the Enlightenment, so now I will explain how about the Enlightenment was truly developed. So the Enlightenment did not appear instantly, so it was influenced by several historical periods in Europe that gradually changed the way people think. So from like relying mostly on faith and religious authority to using reason, science, and critical thinking. So during the Middle Ages, society was highly influenced by the church. People believed that truth and knowledge mainly came from religious teachings, so the authority was rarely questioned. And in the Renaissance period, people began focusing more on humans and human potential. Like this movement is called the humanism. People became more interested in art, education, and individual creativity. And then during the scientific revolution, scientists started using observation and experiments to understand the world. and knowledge became based on the evidence and logic rather than only belief or traditions. And yeah, finally, these developments led to the Enlightenment period, where reason and rational inquiry become very important. Enlightenment itself, or the thinkers, encouraged people to think critically and question political and religious authority. So in this period, also introduced ideas such as freedom, equality, and human rights. So yeah, overall, we can see that transformation of European thought from faith to humanism to science and finally to the reason itself. Okay, next. So after the Renaissance, Europe entered the scientific revolution period. Okay, so during this time, people started using observation and experiments to gain a knowledge. So they believed that truth should be proven with evidence and logic, like what I said before, so not only through tradition or old belief. So yeah, because of this, Europeans also began questioning all the authority and the traditional ideas. So in this period, people more think critical than before. Yeah, they were questioning everything in this world. So the people believe the nature followed universe laws that could be understood through the science. So yeah, this period became an important foundation for the Enlightenment because it encouraged rational and critical thinking.
So next, I'm going to talk about the role of the philosophers, because as we know that the Enlightenment did not spread by no one, but it's spread by the philosophers that we call it philosophers or the thinkers. So Enlightenment thought did not emerge out of nowhere, but it grew from ideas and movement from centuries earlier. By exploring its roots and key philosophers, we can better understand how the Enlightenment reshaped the world, or we can say how the Enlightenment changed the world. Enlightenment philosophers were thinkers of the 17th and 18th centuries who prioritized human reason, science, and individual freedoms over the tradition. Their radical ideas regarding government by consent, nature's rights, and separation of power laid the foundation for modern democracy as well as the America and French Revolution. Many Enlightenment ideas originated from a group influential thinkers that offer we often call it philosophers, but thinkers or philosophers it's the same as well. These writers and philosophers held different views, but they all believe in the powers of human reasons to improve society. So it's mean even though that they have different views or different points, but they all come together about the human reason and science and human rights like that. So after we talk about the role of the philosophers, we're gonna talk about the major Enlightenment thinker because there's a lot of Enlightenment thinker or Enlightenment philosophers, but in this case I just only take a four of the Enlightenment thinker because there's a lot and I can't take everyone to this explanation. So the first one is John Locke. Okay, I think we all know about this John Locke. He is known as the father of the liberalisms, and he was an inspirer of both the European Enlightenment and Constitution of United States. He believed that humans are born with mind blank, or he said it's tabula rasa, that is, knowledge and characters are shaped through experience and education. His ideas later influenced modern educations and human rights. The second one is Isaac Newton. And yeah, again, who doesn't know Isaac Newton? We all know Isaac Newton science elementary schools. I know him science elementary schools, and Isaac Newton explained it that the universe works according to the nature's law. His discoveries made people believe that reason and science could be used to understand the world logically. His means what he trying to say that science and reason could be the evidence or proof for something. So back then, people are proving something by their belief or a tradition. So Isaac Newton here trying to say that science and reason could be the evidence too, not only by the belief or the tradition. The third one is Voltaire. Voltaire was a French Enlightenment writer, historian, and philosopher that famous for his wit. He offered a new perspective on the past regarding the abuse of power by the royal elites or the royal family, I think, and the clergy against the people. He believed that only an enlightened king could bring about the change to society, okay? And that it was in the king's natural interest to improve the educations and well-being of his people. So the enlightened king has responsibility of his society. And the last is Rousseau. Rousseau believed that government should represent the people's will, not only the interests of kings in elites. Yeah, again, in elites or the royal family, the royal elites like that, or the clergy against. And his ideas later influenced democracy and French Revolution. So yeah, that was the ideas of the four Enlightenment thinkers from John Locke, Isaac Newton, Voltaire, and Rousseau. Now we're gonna talk about the spread of the Enlightenment because before we talk about the Enlightenment thinkers, and the Enlightenment thinkers are giving their ideas. So the Enlightenment ideas spread through like a social gatherings, mass-produced print media, and international academic networks. But the spread is not only to the elite society, but also to everyone equally. And the main point is that the Enlightenment did not develop solely among the scientists, but also spread to the general public through books, discussion, and other sources of knowledge. So here I have four places, I think, places for the spread of the Enlightenment. So the first one is salons. So the salons is a place for intellectual discussions. The second one is coffee houses. So coffee houses is a place for a political debate venue. Yes, so it's more specific to political other than anything. And the third one is libraries. So as we know, libraries is have a lot of books. So yeah, it's access to books and knowledge. And the last one is encyclopedia by Zero. So this encyclopedia, I think, is a collection of knowledge that spread the Enlightenment widely. I think the Enlightenment spread to broad or widely by the Gerard because Gerard is the writer of this encyclopedia.
Okay, now we're gonna move to the historical significance. The Enlightenment had a major impact on the development of the modern world. During this period, people began to believe that humans have natural rights, such as freedom and equality, and that government should protect these rights. These ideas influenced important historical events like the American Revolution and the French Revolution. People start to question the authority of kings and believe that political power should come from the people, not from divine right. The Enlightenment also encouraged rational thinking and scientific inquiry. Instead of accepting ideas based only on tradition or religion, people began to use observation, logic, and evidence to understand the world. In addition, the Enlightenment promoted religious tolerance and freedom of speech. These ideas later influenced the development of democracy, modern education, human rights, and secular. What about the criticism and contradiction of the Enlightenment? Although the Enlightenment promoted liberty and equality, these ideas were not applied to everyone equally. During this period, colonialism and slavery still continued in many countries. Some thinkers even support ideas about racial superiority and discrimination. This contradiction shows that the Enlightenment values were progressive. But in reality, many groups of people were still excluded from freedom and equality. In conclusion, the Enlightenment was an important intellectual movement that changed the way people viewed about society, government, and knowledge. It encouraged people to think critically, question traditional authority, and use reason and science to find the truth. The movement also introduced important ideas such as democracy, human rights, freedom of speech, and religious tolerance. Many systems and values in modern society today are influenced by Enlightenment thinking. Even now, people still rely on evidence, logic, and critical thinking in education, science, and politics. However, the Enlightenment also reminds us that ideas about freedom and equality must be applied fairly to everyone, not only to certain groups.
I think that's all about our presentation about the Enlightenment, and thank you guys for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.